Yes. Um, Welcome, come well, to another episode entitled "Am I as I am as you are?" Today we're going to be touching upon the title of today is called "What is expectations?" Right? What is expectations? Why do we expect things from others, specifically our mates, significant others? We expect things from them. We expect them to be a certain way. We see them in a certain light, but it doesn't mean that light in which we see them is actually the light that they truly are. Okay, so this is what we're going to be touching upon today. Once again, the title for today is What is Expectations? And I touch upon things from a principle standpoint or a standpoint of principle, dealing with the laws of principle and the laws of principality. Once again, like I said, this video cast, what I call it, is for people who are in relationships, marriages, have a significant other, have mates, and for people in that intimate relationship or that union to understand each other in a different light, um, in a different perception, a specific perception to be exact, especially dealing with this path and this calling. Okay. So, of course, you know how we do. If you're already familiar with this channel, I'm going to dive right into it. We go line for line, what I say doorway for doorway, or doorway after doorway, and together we walk down this hallway. Okay? First thing is, the first doorway is, it is non-acceptance of the moment. Your mind is somewhere within the then and there, no longer in the here and now. Your attention is in the realm of wish and hope, which is a false way to exist in the moment. Which is why when things don't go as expected or planned, you create ill thought, ill intention, and sooner or later, ill body, which is the overall completion and the epitome of illness. So, I'm expecting her to be this way. I'm expecting him to do this. I'm expecting things to go this way, to go right. Stop expecting. Because are you seeing what is actually happening before you? Are you witnessing what's going on in that relationship? Do you see it? And usually, we see it, which is what we call these things red flags. Oh, I should have knew. I should have knew. I should have knew. Shoulda, coulda, woulda means that you were aware of it to some degree, but you chose to either ignore it or, you know, push it to the back burner or push it to the side because you want to keep going forward. Um, there's ways to deal with that, to deal with those expectations in certain ways. You have to have and fall in line with also acceptance. So, as much as you deal in expecting something from someone to be a certain way, you also have to accept that someone um, and that something in that specific way that it's showing you itself. Okay? So once again, like I said, yeah, I wish, I'm hoping, I'm wishing it could be this way. I hope he can be this way. I hope things go this way. I have a vision for this. But there's another half of that vision, which is the other person. You can have your own individual vision for it, for the relationship or that marriage to go in that way. But you have to be considerate towards the other half of that vision which you are projecting and wanting to manifest. Okay, half of that manifestation, the other individual has a right to the other half of that manifestation, being that they have their own experience. Okay, so consideration, work on that as well, practice that as well. So stay in the moment. Wishing and hoping is a minute from now, an hour, a day, a week, a month, a year from now. You're not really here because you're seeing them and hoping and wishing that they can become this, or you're hoping and wishing things move about in this fashion. Um, like I said, you can expect, just learn how to accept as well. Okay. The next doorway is being absent to the present moment. Once again, what I just touched upon. Absence of the moment equates to being held back, simultaneously living in a forward state of existence while willingly moving backwards. That in itself creates a potential schism in your thought process, which trickles down to the body and reveals itself sooner or later, potentially as ill health. So, what I mean by that is absence of the moment equates to being held back. You're not a thing which is holding back. You're not a thing which is held back. Which, so like they have that saying, some people say, "Oh, I can't hold water. I have to let it be known. I have to tell it. I have to reveal it. I have to show it. I can't hold water for too long. Don't tell me a secret. I can't hold secrets. I have to let it be known." You know, you're something that's moving forward, which is what they call age, which is what I title acceleration. So, and what is known as days or whatever you want to call this, but or time. This is a time vehicle. We are timeless inside of a time reality, or a timed vehicle, or a vehicle governed in the state of time. So you're constantly moving forward. You're constantly going forward. So being absent in the moment is kind of equivalent to holding yourself back in an illusional state, while in reality you're actually a forward moving thing. Okay, so it kind of, and that in itself causes a schism in the mind and the body, it trickles down to the body and soon reveals itself as ill health. Okay, mentally and or psychologically and biologically. The next doorway is not letting that which reveals reveal itself to you. So you're not letting that which reveals reveal itself to you. All remains in revelation whether you acknowledge it, see it, realize it, recognize it, or not. All which is secret eventually secretes. Secret and secrete, you see where they derive from, they're connected to. Pardon me. A wall can only be built in between polarities, which means there's potential on both sides of that wall which still exists regardless of that wall. Okay? The wall being the example of expecting, wishing, hoping, which should be, according to your thinking process. But at the same time, you can build that wall, but you build that wall and there's an inside and an outside, or the opposite. There's an outside and an inside that wall was created within. And the outside can't ignore the inside can't ignore the outside. So even though you build that wall, there's still going to be an outside. Even though you build that wall, there's still going to be an inside. See, and things from the outside is going to find its way inside, and things from the inside will crawl and find its way outside. So you can put a wall there, but energy is still moving. Things are still happening. So why put that wall there to begin with? Okay, or build a wall and still acknowledge the outside and inside polarities which this middle wall exists within. Okay, it's your choice. Next line and or doorway is drawing a picture that hasn't yet been drawn. So I say, try painting with a paintbrush in midair. It's an impossibility. Let nature grow things for you first to paint on. So in other words, let nature grow something to give you the canvas and foundation for you to draw on and paint on. Be patient, remain aware without judgment or opinion on the revelation itself. See, just like we have paper, right? Loose leaf paper. Right? They say that was made from trees. Right? That's what they say. It's made from trees. Nature gave you a canvas. It gave you a canvas to draw on. I'm trying to think. Gave you a canvas to draw on. Trees, right? So let nature grow. Let that which be give you something to draw on. You don't have to draw something first. Let it give you something to draw on. In other words, let revelation reveal itself to you the way something is. And in that revelation is where you complete your inner drawing of the situation at hand, the person that you're with, and how things will be from that point forward. Okay? Understand, I'm not saying there's nothing wrong or right to you being inside of your mind and wanting something to be a certain way. It's fine. But don't, turn an eye on things which are actually showing you itself. Okay? Yeah, get a little more deep into it as we go along. Next doorway is trying to control something which is actually out of your control. We exist in between the dimensions of chaos and order. Let go and let grow. Let be and let see. The word control doesn't really exist in most circumstances and situations, depending on how you perceive that principle and how you're utilizing that principle. There's really nothing under our control, including ourself and our relationships. We can navigate and guide things at certain time in certain speeds in certain directions with a specific intent and agenda, but eventually that orderly will meet its randomnimital polarity and challenge sooner or later or sooner. Nothing is really under our control. Just like people want to be extremely healthy and all of a sudden they're eating right, they're exercising, and all of a sudden they come down with an illness or an ailment. People that were doing things that which they think wasn't right, stop doing it, all of a sudden something else produced inside the body or the mind. We think we're under control, but we're in a realm built on chaos and order and chaos. Chaos leads to order, and trying to be too damn ordered leads to a chaotic result. Chaotic end result. And that's why sometimes people eat or consume certain things that people say are bad or unhealthy, and they live longer than those who are consuming healthy. Who the hell knows? This is a realm based upon randomnimity. Everything is random. It's like your fingerprint is different than the next person's fingerprint. How many times can a spiral, a fingerprint, actually be different and then different from someone else's fingerprint? See, this is all randomnimity. This is randomness. So if you know something is based upon what is random or randomnimity or randomness, don't try to be too ordered or orderly or wish or hope or expect things to be a picture perfect way. And for the storyline to be, cookie cutter perfect according to what your perception of perfect is in a intimate relationship with another. Okay. As you move along, walk down this hallway. The next doorway is the next doorway is being illusional and potentially becoming delusional. So expecting is, in a sense of a way, in a sense of understanding, a way of understanding, is being illusional and potentially becoming delusional. Okay, what do I mean by that? Illusional is mind activity. Delusional was brain activity. Stop asking for or requesting what was not created to be given. Remain in reality. Experience your truth. Remain in reality. Experience your truth. Okay, so becoming illusional, being illusional is of the mind, and delusional is of the brain and body. You start to get into this cyclic thought or the cyclic way of thinking. And down here ain't nothing but cycles. So there's nothing wrong or right with cycles or cyclic way of thinking, but what cycles are you creating of yourself, of your mind? Are you in full thinking mode, or do you stop and create thoughts? And how many thoughts do you create, and how quickly do you create these thoughts? And how reoccurring do these same thoughts keep showing up? That determines your psychological health and your physical health, which trickles down to the physical health through the spine, bloodstream, and so on and so on, the way you think. Okay. Yeah, and you gotta understand too. I was just having a conversation, and before I shot this video or start to record this video, and I remember in metaphysics when we were taught, um, you know, you don't taste with your tongue, you taste with your brain. You don't hear with your ears, you hear with your brain. You don't see with your eyes, you see with your brain. You don't feel with your hands, you feel with your brain. This is something which is stemmed out to these mediums, what we call arms, feet, and the five senses, which we want to call, I guess. So it's your partner, once again, like I said, is your projection. That is your creation, whether you know it or not. Your whole experience is within you. And in between that crossover, that subtle crossover between this and that, one can become illusional and so-called, and that can mature into becoming delusional, amongst another, because it makes that crossover from that which isn't physical into that which is physical, from the physical presence, into a translucent essence. And that will determine the crossover or the potentially created insanity that you created within yourself, for yourself, by yourself, within your own mind. It has nothing to do with the other. So you have to be aware of these principles and of this reality and how it functions and operates here, within you, in front of you, and around you. Okay, but certain things to keep in mind. I don't want to get too off track. The next doorway is creating a role and a script for a character which doesn't exist. You want this person to be a certain way, and to be this way, and to be that way. But they're not that character. That's not their script. And that's not the role that they are playing. So you're creating this whole role, script, and character for this individual when they have their own role, script, and they are their own character and display their own behavior according to their experience. There's no need to create something for something which is already created and creating itself within the moment. You just have to remain in the moment. Stay there, as much as possible. Remain aware as much as possible and conscious of the situation and the person, how situations unfold and circumstances happen within the moment, within your awareness, within your consciousness. We're not going to remain aware and conscious all the time in every single moment, but it's good to have an acknowledgement and knowledge of awareness to remain in that spot or that slot of existence as much as possible. Okay? It's just more balancing to you. You get the benefit from it. Okay? Let's see. Let me see. Back. So, process. Yeah, so, like I said, creating a role in the script, there's no need to create it. Stop trying to make someone else fit your perceived mold of them. Let them mold themselves. You have that right, and so do they. Don't cross that line, because once you cross that line, you become lost in mind, in your own mind. Okay, so don't cross that line. We become lost in mind. Stop trying to make someone else fit your perceived mold of them. Let them mold themselves. Okay, understand that. The next doorway is setting yourself up for potential insanity. You are setting yourself up for potential insanity by expecting, wishing and hoping too much. Being in the process of potentially driving yourself mad. Remain present. Witness what it is that's unfolding and unraveling right before your eyes and your view in the midst of your experience. Okay? Don't drive yourself mad. Don't make yourself mad. In feeling and psychologically. There's no need to drive yourself mad. Okay. If you want to, go ahead. Because this is a reality where both things are needed for self-activation. Sometimes people need to go mad to activate or wake up something within themselves. Sometimes people don't. So it's all based upon how you are molding yourself. I mean, you're busy molding yourself and creating yourself. What gives you the right, or what time do you have to mold and create somebody else? You can think about them. You can't think for them. Okay? Keep this in mind and heart. Come on. The next line and or doorway is turning your back on revelation. Expecting is turning your back on revelation. Once you turn your back on it, it turns its back on you. True revelation is renovation, which means to bring self to a better or clearer state of structure and existence. That's what renovation means, to bring things in a better or clearer state of structure, a better state of structure or a clearer state of existence. So true revelation is renovation. Why not clean out? You know, from the inside out, not from the outside in. So true revelation is renovation. Okay? Begin to renovate internally. The next line in our doorway is not letting that which simply is just be and become. Whatever is shall become. Understand that real quick. Whatever it is shall become. Shall. It will. It becomes its own entity. There's no need to create one for it. That's an irrelevant act on your part, on your behalf. Whatever it is will be and become. That's just a normal progressive process of principality, growth, and development, and maturity. It's just a process. Just like you're one, and you're two, then you're two, then you're 3 years old, and you're 3 years old, and you're four, and you're 4 solar cycles, 5 solar cycles, 6 solar cycles, 7 solar cycles, age, what you want to call it. It's a normal process. Life doesn't say I'm 1 year old, and then I'm two, and I'm two, and I'm going to turn one again. No, it doesn't make a mistake. It's a gradual process that's it has its order, and within that order are random things which occur in that order process. But it has its own divine order. So that's a divine order, basically, is what I'm saying. That which is shall be and become. That's a divine order that doesn't make any mistake. Okay. The only mistake that's being made is you on your behalf. how your thought process is if it isn't of benefit to you and if it doesn't serve you and your purpose. Okay. Um, Next line doorway is creating a story for a story which is in the making. So it's like giving a storyline to an unknown and unmanifested story. You're creating a story for them. Why? You can't create a life for a life which is already living within its own living process. Be aware of the storyline showing you its very story at hand. Once again, you want to expect, okay, expect, whatever. But also accept. Expect and accept. Expect and accept. Expect is like a playground you play in. Acceptance is not a playground. Acceptance is adulthood, maturity. Accepting is the kids' playground, children's playground in the park somewhere. Okay? It's a big difference. But you can play with both. You can be just like an adult can go in the playground and play as a kid in the monkey bars and the swings, you know? And a kid can be in an adult's atmosphere with their adult or with their parent in a mature atmosphere. They can switch, they can play. You can play in both realms. Okay? Don't just fall victim to one. I wouldn't recommend you do that. That's according to this path and this understanding, it's not wise to do so. Okay? So it's pretty much that clear right there on that one. The next doorway is not or never seeing the person, being in the interaction and the situation as it truly is. No matter how long you've been with your mates, if you were never or hardly ever present during the relationship, then that's equivalent to you never meeting each other at all. Which means meeting each other in the present moment in true acceptance of one another as the other is. So, you know, just make sure you remain present. No matter how much you're interacting with them, and it's still equivalent to not even seeing them, not even interacting with them, not even talking to them, because you're somewhere else. I want her to be this way. He better be this way, or I see him this way. He broke my heart, or he made me sad because he wasn't that way, or she broke my heart. I'm saying, like, she deceived me, she fooled me. I thought she was this way, and it's like, wait, hold on. Did she deceive you? Did she fool you? Or did you deceive yourself? And did you fool yourself? So we have to ask these questions sometimes. Did he deceive me? Did he fool me? Did she deceive me? Did she fool me? My question is to both of y'all. Did you deceive yourself? Did you fool yourself? How do you know? Remember, this is a mirror reflective reality. Once again, playing and wishing, hoping, and expecting is, it's a challenge when you're just playing mostly in that field on that playground and not around a more mature atmosphere, which is acceptance. Okay. The next line in the doorway is being of instead of as. Okay. Being of instead of as. Always being a thing instead of a no thing. Always being a thing instead of a no thing, which is nothing. Learn to be both when needed, desired, or required to, depending on the situation in that moment. Learn to experience and also learn to witness simultaneously. Practice that. And I tell people sometimes when they're in certain kind of confrontations and they're yelling and they're screaming and they're arguing, or they'll tell me certain tales or stories of this happening between them and their mate. I'll say, yo, listen, that's what you're experiencing in that moment. When you're experiencing that in that moment, or you're feeling an ill way or having ill thoughts about the other, learn to jump out of that moment and just be the one witnessing both people interacting. Learn to witness the person that you're experiencing, which is yourself. You're experiencing your personality. Learn to jump out of the personality, to reject out of it, and look at it, down upon it, or to the side of it, and witness what's going on. So learn to experience the experience of conflict, and then learn to jump out of the experience of conflict and witness the conflict taking place. And then jump back into it and jump back into the experience and neutralize the situation. So it comes back into a mutual harmonic state of existence again, that you can manipulate if you know or are knowledgeable of manipulating certain forces and mastering communication. It's very important that you master communication or know how to begin the mastering of communication, because that brings things down to a leveled state, and it also supports your sanity and clarity of self. Okay, even amongst a raging mate, or a mate that's always trying to start friction, or always in confliction with you, or disagreement with you. It doesn't mean that you guys aren't meant for each other, or in that moment, or she's not meant as a lesson and challenge to you, and he's not meant as a lesson and a challenge to you, but within you. It's all about how you neutralize these extreme imbalances. Because I always say that true balance is imbalance, which is why you may connect with someone who is not like you. It doesn't mean that you guys aren't meant for each other in that moment, or your projection, or you guys, like I said, your creation isn't meant for you at that moment in your creative state, or your projection isn't meant for you in that projected state at that moment. But there's ways of determining what is if you remain aware in that moment, okay, of that situation. The next line and or doorway is expecting is setting yourself up. Just expecting, only expecting, is setting yourself up for a total letdown. Stop anticipating what can be and should be, and just be still, silent, aware, and attentive, and simply enjoy the ride or the ride along. Too much action and anticipation, biologically, a biological fact, stresses out the kidneys and adrenal glands. How so? You're getting a high and a false adrenaline rush for something which may not be and may never be. And when that truth is sooner or later revealed to you, then all that weight that you created will drop right on top of you, weighing you down, and will have you dragging through life instead of gracefully walking through life. Okay? We create this weight, and it's funny how these thought forms or these ways of thinking, that's can it turns a thought form actually turns into something which holds weight, something which isn't something of weight or pounds or ounces turns into something which is ounces and pounds. And that's why when people are stressed out and they find a venting to vent out on, they go, and then what does that mean? That means that they feel lighter, which means that a light has came into them. So feeling lighter means that a light has came in. They became enlightened to a certain degree during the venting out or the releasing of that pressure. Thought process can create pressure, but how is pressure? How can pressure exist without weight. You see, so like, I'm feeling pressure right now. I'm stressed out. I'm frustrated. Leave me alone right now. I'm feeling a lot of pressure right now. How do you feel pressure if thought doesn't convert into something which can become actual weight? Weight. And the more you wait to not fix it or neutralize it, WAIT, the more weight, WEIGHT, you create. So the more you wait, the more weight you create. Okay? And that comes with anticipating and adrenaline and all this other stuff that you're doing, all this crap that you're doing, and just wearing and tearing at your kidneys and your adrenaline glands will sit on top of the kidneys. That breathing in the lungs and, getting mad and your skin starts to feel hot, your blood starts to boil you, it starts to turn red, you start to sweat, perspirate, sporadic eye movements, sporadic body movements. You're creating an entity inside of you. You're giving birth to another entity. Okay, so I wouldn't suggest you anticipate too damn much. Just like motivation and inspiration. Motivation and inspiration is nothing without action. So as much as you anticipate, you better put into action, which is the opposite action, which is to accept. You anticipate because you expect. But what I would suggest you put into action is to have an understanding of the principle of acceptance. Okay. The next line and or doorway is constantly lying to yourself over and over again while being aware of the lies you tell yourself. It's not recommended to keep doing what you know you shouldn't be doing or should stop doing or no longer want to do. Once you become awake, you cannot go back to sleep. See, it's different when somebody doesn't know what they're doing and they keep on doing it. But it's worse for someone who knows what they're doing and knows that what they're doing, what they truly don't want to do, but keeps on doing it. Like, I know I shouldn't be expecting him to be a certain way. I know I shouldn't be expecting her to be this way. But if she's that way, she makes me feel more comfortable around her. If he's that way, it makes me want to be with him more. If he can just be this person that I want him to be in my mind, there's no such thing. Don't ever expect somebody to love you the way you want to be loved. Okay? Let them express themselves to you, however their spirit is animating to you, as it animates and expresses itself to you. You can accept it, you can be in the moment, enjoy the experience, or be hesitant and resistant towards the experience expressing itself to you. That's your choice. That's your decision. Okay. The next line in our doorway is expecting is being selfish instead of selfless. Being selfish instead of selfless. Right? So it just means you're being more human than spiritual, being more of presence than of essence. But learn to be both. Learn to balance both. Okay? Because if we're both tangible and intangible, visible and invisible, seen but see-through, you have to learn to balance both of these natures. Like people always say, what do you mean see-through? All that spiritual stuff, and what do you mean I can't see my spirit? And then, like, I don't understand, that which I can't see. I don't want to talk about that. Let's talk about what can be seen. I say, okay, well, I always give this clear, simple example. What do you breathe? What is it called? And they say, oh, okay, it's called oxygen. I say, okay, can you see it? How far does that conversation go? They say no. And I say, well, what you can't see keeps present what you can see. Explain that. about all day. You can deny the invisible all you want. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't take away from the principle of invisibility or translucent or the transparent reality. Okay? Or even your mind, something that nobody else can see. I mean, all is mind, but a piece of it that you have, nobody else can see that but you. And then you bring your thoughts, your expectations, your wishing, your hoping, your thoughts, all this stuff, and you act it out or you try to make the other fit that. But I thought what can't be seen isn't real. I thought what was invisible was just fairy tale and make believe. No, it's not. That's not how it goes according to this path. Okay. The next line and or doorway is revealing how selfish, spoiled, ignorant, careless, and self-centered you truly are. Not only to the other, but also to yourself, to your own awareness. Okay? Don't deny what you're seeing of yourself. Be real with yourself. Be genuine with yourself. Be honest with yourself and to yourself, for yourself, by yourself, as yourself, most importantly, as you are. Okay? You're actually telling on yourself, and trust that the other person does see it, does realize it, and will move around you and move with you accordingly. They're going to treat the situation as it reveals itself to be, while you just ignore what's being unfolded before you and unraveled before you. But you constantly telling them, no, I wish our relationship was like this. I seen it was going to be like this. I was hoping it could be like this. I expect you to be this way. I expected you to be this way. You lied to me. You deceived me. You fooled me. How could you? Is that really the situation at hand, or were you just ignoring things? And it doesn't mean that the things that you were ignoring were bad or negative in any way. It could have been something that you could have dealt with, within yourself before you begin to communicate with the other and interact with your mate. You don't have to tell them everything that's revealing itself to you. Revelation is very private. It's very personal. It's what's going in your eyes, in your mind, not theirs. However they're projecting to you, So, or whatever the situation is projecting to you and reflecting through you, that's your personal thing to know. And for how it's up to you how you want to animate that inwardly, outwardly. Understand? All right. The next line in our doorway is pulling something which can't be pulled. My thing to you is let it pull you. Let it surround you. Let it show you. You can't show something which is actually showing you something. It's just another analogy of a dog chasing its own tail. A follower following a follower. So, remember, when you don't pull something towards you, I want him, I want her to be this way, I want the relationship to be this way. You don't pull it, then something is pulling you, which is why you stay there with her, which is why you stay in that relationship with him. You're staying there because there's a pulling effect going on. Let that pull you in towards them. And just see what's revealing itself to you. And accept it. Or be one with it. Unite with it. Infuse with it. Okay? Especially if it's not detrimental to you or harmful to you or your physical body. If there's no verbal abuse to that high degree or no physical abuse at all going on. Learn from it. Take the challenge. Grow. Mature. Okay. The next line in our doorway is trying to possess something which constantly escapes from you. Every now and again, you see what you thought was really isn't. You can only ignore it, but for so long. You're going to have to acknowledge it sooner or later because it will not change. It's just something basically saying that, you know, um, you're trying to possess this character that you think this person is, or you're trying to possess a constantly unfolding situation, which even when you possess that fold of that situation, within that possession of that fold, it's constantly unfolding. And then you grab it again, and it constantly unfolds, and it keeps happening. So stop trying to grab. Pull your tentacles back. You know? Let go of the crap. Let things be as it is. Okay. And you see for yourself every time you do this, damn, I thought it was this way, it wasn't that way. Damn, I thought he was this way, but he wasn't that way. Damn, I thought she was like that, but damn, she isn't like that. Damn, I thought this was how I wanted it to be, but it's not. Every now and again you see that. So what is this? What is reality telling you? Let the hell go. Stop trying to create and paint and draw and sketch and blueprint and something which has its own tools to do it and is doing so. Okay, next line on the doorway is something which an agreement gives strength to. Expectation is something which an agreement gives strength to. Be aware of the agreements you make with your other or others. Relationship agreements and relationship rules, to be exact. Agreements and promises can be broken, and putting your all and your trust into these things can leave you broken as well if the agreement gets broken for whatever reason. So we have to learn how to play in agreements. We have to learn how to play in the rules that we may set forth with the other, with your mate, with the mate, or significant other, or your creation, or your projection. Better words, better understanding. These things are not written in stone. Agreements and rules are things that humans create and make. But once again, like I said, this reality is you're a chaos being, and this is chaos, which is why even rules and laws are created, because this is pure chaos here. So there has to be a certain thing called boundaries or dead end or the end of this. You know, you can't do this or else this consequence. You can't break this law. This happened. There's a rule here. We have an agreement going on here. You can't go outside those boundaries. There's a limit. You know, all these things exist here in an illusional way. But according to this reality, this is how we play here. Agreements, rules, and stuff like that is also a playing mechanism. You got to stop. I wouldn't suggest you be so serious in your human play, in your human activity with your mate. Don't be so serious in it. Know that they know or acknowledge something. Know that you know or acknowledge something which was said to you or shared with you or agreed by you. But don't fall into it. Don't put your all into it. You know, because things can be broken for whatever reasons. Maybe the person can die or, you know, leave their body, a transition or whatever. It doesn't mean that they broke an agreement. It's just something happened. Maybe they found interest in something else, somebody else, or other people, or maybe they chose, okay, well, I don't like the rules. I want to break up with you. I think we should split up right now. It doesn't mean they broke an agreement. Everybody has their own experience, their own right, their own say-so, their own choice, their own decision. They can do as they please. See, so Learn to play with your perception and stop being so serious in human to human interaction, human to human activity. No matter how serious it's known to be or, you know, defined as. Learn to create your reality. Learn to create your truth inside of this reality. Okay? And a truth which keeps you kind of balanced, centered, sane, and clear internally as much as possible. The next line in our doorway is there is a way to expect and accept at the same time, which is what I was talking about before, right? It's human nature to expect things at times. There's nothing wrong or right to it, or wrong or right about it. In fact, we were subconsciously trained to expect things from things like birthdays, which are birthday gifts, holidays of givings, things of that nature, etc. But this path is about being aware of your involuntary reactions and recreating a voluntary response to the present action at hand. I think I made that pretty clear. This is why we expect. This is why some of us are stuck in expectations. And we become illusional, and then sooner or later we become delusional if we have no control and discipline over what we are involving ourselves, willingly involving ourselves within. So we were subconsciously trained to expect things from things like birthdays, which are birthday gifts, holidays, which are holidays of givings, things that you give or expect or receive on holidays, etc. But this path right here, this specific path, is about being aware of your involuntary reactions, which is expecting, and recreating a voluntary response, which is acceptance, to the present action at hand. Okay? So learn, understand, acknowledge the differences of involuntary and voluntary. Like the involuntary nature of you is blood is flowing through the vein, the heart is beating, the mind is on, the experience is here. You didn't ask for this. This is involuntary. This is just happening. You're just thinking. You're not saying, okay, mind, think. Okay, brain, put this many thoughts. Let's look at these thoughts. No, it's just thinking. It's just beating. It's just flowing. You're just experiencing. That's it. So you have an involuntary and voluntary. You can stop your heart if you choose to take yourself out. You know what I'm saying? Only way you're going to stop this really is voluntarily committing suicide. You can stop this body from functioning and operating a certain way once you leave the body. But there's an involuntary process and a voluntary. Just as much as you dive in the involuntary, which is expecting like a spoiled brat. Playing with the words right now. Pardon my sense of humor. Like I said, it comes from birthdays and birthday gifts and holidays and giving, so we can't really blame ourselves for expecting, which is why I said it's okay to expect. It's human nature to expect, but it's of spiritual nature to accept. So there is a way to be both of these things at the same time, simultaneously, in respect of one another's orbital existence in principle. Okay, the next line and doorway is trying to create another's life for them when they themselves are the creators of their own life and their own content. Let them direct their own movie. Let them pick their character. Let them write their own scripts. They have that divine birthright, and so do you. No need to be selfish towards that common sense. That's just common damn sense. Let them direct their own movie. Let them pick their own character. Let them write their own scripts for the characters. Which is basically saying, let them live their damn life. Just like you live your life, why can't you find that fairness, that respect to let them live their own and stop painting their shit for them? They can do that themselves. So, stop trying to not see what is directly there in your view. Okay? Expecting is like looking in the view and not seeing what's in the view. Having a whole other, this is what's going on, but you're over here. You're putting a block in front of this because you're just seeing this. No matter what's in your view, you're just seeing this. No, drop this and see what's in your view. Okay, it's okay to put this up sometimes and then put it down sometimes. Accept, expect, accept. Go back and forth. Okay, this is subconscious, right? This is the involuntary reaction. This is the conscious or the frontal lobe, the voluntary response to all that is happening and taking place right there in front of you and around you. Most importantly, within you. The next line in our doorway is the attempt of trying to create something which was already created and in the process of creation or creating itself. Understand that creation and transformation is a constant. Creation and transformation is a constant. Let go. As creation is creating itself in the process of creating its own creation, there's also transformation being taken place, which means this goes for you as well. At the same time, you're creating a whole storyline, a movie for them, a character. If you just stop putting your direct attention and focus into what you're creating for them, a transformation will begin to happen within you, and an acceptance will begin, will be you of it and all. So you can transform as well. Learn to create and let go of the creation which you created in order to transform and become the transformation in process of itself, in progress of itself. Okay? There's a time to create, and there's a time to transform. Like I said, it's time to expect. Sometimes you can play with that, but there's also a time to accept. Expect, accept, expect, accept. Okay? The next line in our doorway is only two more. Subliminally feeding your ego or your lower nature. Greed, ignorance, and selfishness are of the lower realms of existence within this specific experience we know as life, or we call life. That creates the development of loss of control and lack of discipline. Therefore, you become and remained anchored to the gravitational pull, which is third density or third solidity. So greed, I just want her to be this way, I want him to be this way, I want ignorance, ignoring what's being shown to you. Selfishness, I want it to be this way, I don't care, I want her to be this way, I want him to be this way, I want things to be this way. Are you actually seeing what's actually taking place? Are you witnessing what's being revealed to you? Are you accepting what's unraveling before you? Are you even living? It's a good question as well. Because to be living is, because to live is to be willing to die. Not die physically out the body, but break up with your world and your mind and your thoughts, to break you up out of that illusional state that you are in, that you are currently in. Are you willing to die that personality? Are you willing to kill that possession that you have become possessed by? And like I told you, like I told in the other videos as well, your only exorcist for your possession is your awareness. So when you are possessed, you come equipped with an exorcist That exorcist is your awareness, along with your control and discipline, knowledge and wisdom of what was, which can turn into what can be. And the last doorway, the last line in or doorway is you're existing inside of the realm of fantasy and imagination. Constantly expecting is existing inside of the realm of fantasy, primarily existing inside the realm of fantasy and imagination. It's okay to fantasize, it's okay to imagine. Those are just two devices of mind that you create from. But it isn't suggested that you get lost within it, because it gets that much more difficult to find your way out of it and back into the reality of one-to-one interaction, not self with self intra-action. Say it one more time. It's okay to fantasize and imagine. Those are two devices of mind that you actually create from. But it isn't suggested that you get lost within it, because it gets that much more difficult to find your way out of it and back into the reality of one-to-one interaction instead of self with self interaction. Intra-action, interaction and intra-action is different. It's an action, a state of action, but inter is more like an on the inner outer. But intra is just all within, which is your own self-dialogue, your own possessions, conversating with each other, one ego talking to the other, and putting you in the middle of the dialogue. And then you think you're this side, you think you're this side. And you think there's actually things happening inside of you, and you're having this mental dialogue within yourself, but you're never really seeing the one-on-one communication that you're having with another, because you're stuck in your internal dialogue. So yeah, once again, just be aware of acceptance as much as you play in the realm of expectation. So, like I said, simultaneously, do both, be both. Expect, if you will. But accept also what is. Am I as I am, as you are. The books, they will be on Amazon. Will let it be known. The ebook, audio book, and physical copies of the book will be on Amazon, like I told you guys before as well. Down below, there's going to be songs for download for the album I'm creating. Anything else I want to put out there? As of the moment, there's not much really want to put out there at the moment. But I will keep you guys informed and in tune. So stay tuned in and don't tune out. See you guys next time. And until then, I'll keep you in vision. 1, 0.